everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with the We Ain't Getting Any Younger tag. I saw Rainy do this tag last month and I really liked it and I thought it would be really fun to do for my birthday. So today, the day that I am posting this, June 16th, is my birthday. So here it is. I will be reading the questions from my notebook, so if you see me looking down, that is why. So question number 1 is, while it's proven too many birthdays can kill you, the amount of cake we can eat is still under debate. Name the most recent book that gave you a sugar or book high. And for that, I chose Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I just read this last week. I was obsessed. I loved this. I love all of Riley Sager's books. This was just like everything I could have ever wanted. Like, it's spooky, there's a paranormal, like, ghost element. It gave me vibes of like The Haunting of Hill House meets The Shining, and I just loved everything about it. Like, there were times when I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to read this at night. It was just, I loved it. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Check it out if you like spooky books, mysteries. There is a mystery element. I'm obsessed. Question number 2 says, sometimes we get older and wider instead of older and wiser. Name the longest book you've ever read. So I had to do a little bit of digging, and this could not be accurate, but it's accurate at least from recent memory. And the longest book I have read recently is War and Peace, which I read earlier this year. I did it as a buddy read with Rainy. And it's like, I don't remember the exact page count, but it's either just shy of or just over 1,200 pages. I think I ended up giving that 3.5 or 4 stars. I primarily listened to the audio. I did read some of it physically, but the audio definitely helps you get through it. If I had only been reading it physically, I would probably still be reading it because it's tough to digest when you're reading it physically. The audiobook definitely is the way to go with that one. Question number 3 is, the best part about pictures is that they're always a younger version of you. Name a book that you enjoyed more the first time you read it. I do not reread a lot of books. And typically the books that I do reread are like some of my all-time favorites. Like, I have reread the Harry Potter series. I reread Little Women. But for the most part, I don't really reread a lot of books. However, I do have an answer for this one. And this one was tough, but I'm going to go with The Hunger Games and the entire trilogy. The first time I read this, I was like right out of college, and it was kind of at the hype. Like, I think Mockingjay had just come out when I graduated college, like maybe like the semester before I graduated. And so everybody was like in love with it. And I was like, let me see what the hype's all about. And I remember, like, this was the first book in a long time, or the first series in a long time, probably since Harry Potter, where I stayed up till 3, 4 in the morning trying to finish it. I had to know what happened. And I just re-listened to the trilogy last year. And while I still enjoyed it, it probably went from, like, when I initially read it, I probably would have given it like a 5 stars. It probably bumped down to like a 4. I still think it's fine. I still enjoy the story, but I wasn't obsessed with it the way I was the first time around. Question number 4 says, as we get older, you must learn to never skip a bathroom break before jumping in a car ride. Name a book you read in very few sittings. So for this, I chose Salt of the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I read this in one day, and I think the bulk of it was read in one sitting. I love the way that Ruta Sepetys writes, in that she writes with really short chapters. So it's very easy to just keep reading, and each chapter tends to be like from a different perspective. So you're just like, oh, well, what happens next to this person? Oh, well, what happens next to this person? So you just keep reading, and they read really quickly. If you don't know what this is about, this follows a few different perspectives of refugees who escape onto the boat, the Wilhelm Gustav, which was sunk by Soviet submarines during World War II. So you follow them getting to the boat and then on the boat and then after the boat is hit by the submarine. So very interesting story that I did not know anything about. Like, I had never heard of it till I started hearing people talk about this book. And very compelling story. And yeah, it was a one day, I think 2, maybe 3 sittings read. Number 5, don't let old age get you down because it's harder to get back up these days. Dude, I'm only like 32 and I'm having problems getting my butt off the floor when I sit down on it. Like, good Lord, what's going to happen when I'm like twice this age? Name a book you had to put down and why. So, this is gonna get some comments, I'm sure. But I went with Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which I just recently unhauled. You'll probably see that unhaul video next after I post this one, so I don't even have my copy anymore. I was very interested in the story itself and the romance itself. I ended up DNFing it because I could not stand all of the explicit sex scenes in that book. I do not like reading explicit sex scenes in any shape or form. I just feel like stuff should be left to the imagination a little bit. And this book got, like, in my opinion, really detailed. And I didn't need to read it, and I didn't want to read it, and it turned me off from the book. I was loving the premise. I was loving the, like, concept of the relationships. Like, I loved, you know, it was the president's son, and then, like, a prince from England. Like, I loved that, but I couldn't get past all of the sex. I actually sent it to my sister, though, so maybe she'll like it. I don't know. I did tell her why I didn't like it. My mom read it, and she didn't love it, but she finished it. But my mom also reads, like, a lot more romance than I do, so, like, a little bit of sex is fine. But this was, like, way too much for my liking. So, DNF'd it. Question number 6 says, age isn't how long you've been alive, it's how many lives you've lived. What book genres have you been wanting to try outside your comfort zone? So, I feel like I read a pretty wide variety of books. Like, I tend to gravitate towards historical fiction, contemporaries, or, like, mystery thrillers. But I read romance, I read fantasy, I read horror, but I feel like if I had to choose a genre that I might want to read more of, it would probably be fantasy or sci-fi or sci-fi. I feel like I've found what I like in fantasy, which is a, like, very minimal magic system. I'm liking those types of fantasies. So if you have any recommendations for that, leave them down below. But in general, I feel like I'm starting to, like, get a little bit more into fantasy, and I'm liking that. And sci-fi, I haven't read a lot of sci-fi, and I feel like I could maybe like it. So maybe I'll give that a try at some point. So again, if you have any, like, good sci-fi recommendations, leave them down below. Number 7, life gets worse the older you get. That's kind of depressing. I don't know that I agree with that statement, but we'll carry on with the question. Luckily, you don't have much left. That's also depressing. I'd like to think that I have more of my life ahead of me than behind me. I'm only 32. Name a book that slowly turned sour for you, but you finished anyway. Were you glad you stuck it out? All right, so for this, I chose another book that I have unhauled, so that probably tells you my opinion of it, which is Alternate Sides by Anna Quindlen. I read this last year as part of my Newts, and I gave it 2 or 2.5 stars. I'm just going to say the only reason that I finished this book is because I needed to read it for my Newts. Did not care for it one bit. It was a book that, again, the premise sounded good. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what it was about now. It has not stuck in my mind at all. I think it's about like a street that is like a dead end, and these people like live like all the families that live on it. Like something happens on this dead end street that causes a bunch of like drama and chaos for the families that live on the street. But I don't remember what the thing was that happened. And I remember like I got really annoyed because it seemed to be very, very like character driven. And you're reading the book from like one character's perspective, and the way that it was written, it was very like stream of conscious. So like the character could be talking about an event that happened at Christmas time, and then all of a sudden, without any like heads up, you're back to like Easter, like the previous Easter. And it just like there was no like firm timeline. It was very confusing to read, and I feel like it should have been more plot driven, and I would have liked it a lot more. The only reason I finished it was because of my notes. And it was also only like, it was I think less than 250 pages. So I was like, oh, well, might as well finish it because it's not that long and I need it for my notes. So I finished it, but I did not enjoy that one at all. Question number 8 is, peer pressure seems to decrease as you get older. Where did all your friends go? I do agree with that statement. I feel like I have fewer and fewer friends than I did. Like high school, I was a social butterfly. College, I was still pretty social. Now, I mean, I have like my small, like close-knit group of friends, and that's fine. Anyways, name a book you checked out because of peer pressure. Were you happy you tried it? So for that, I'm going with Name of the Wind. Not only did I hear about this a lot on BookTube, but John read it and he wanted me to try it. And then a couple of my coworkers also read it, told me I needed to try it. And so I read it and I loved it, and I'm so glad that I read this. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one as well. There is a like fairly prevalent magic system in this, but it's not difficult to understand. There's actually like 2 different types of magic in this, but it's pretty simple. Like you get, I feel like a pretty good explanation of it, and it's easy to follow. And it just has a very compelling story, and I loved it, and I would recommend this to anyone. And now I am amongst the thousands of people desperately waiting for book 3 to come out. So yeah. Question number 9, I didn't write down like the entire prompt, but it's to tag people. This tag's been around for a little bit. It's not like brand new, and I don't know who's already done it or who has already been tagged. So I will say, if you have a birthday coming up and you want a tag to do for your birthday, I tag you. And or if you liked the questions and you want to do this tag, you're it. Anyways, that is the We Ain't Getting Any Younger book tag. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.